Hi, Scorpio. This is your chakra check in for the first part of April 2022. I always start with what comes through first, which is usually what's most important to you. And what I saw here was just a whole heck of a lot going on with your heart chakra. So, your heart chakra is pretty diffuse energy. So, what I'm seeing is it's just kind of, and when I say diffuse, that means it's like spreading out everywhere. And that's really what I'm seeing. I'm seeing your heart energy just really kind of get all over the place. And so, this is the thing that we want to focus in on and contain. So, this can happen from, certain events. This can happen from years of giving. To me, it almost seems like this is probably the way you've been operating for a long time. Um, and you might not have even realized it because you might not consider yourself an overly emotional person. Um, in general, like, not that you don't have any feelings, but your heart chakra is really spread out and diffuse, and it's also kind of eclipsing this solar plexus chakra, which is a little bit low on energy at the moment. So these are the things we really want to focus on. So our heart chakra, as you might have guessed, is kind of responsible for this love, right? It's actually sort of the hub, kind of the main anchor of our energy system, and you can notice it's the one that's right in the middle. There's three chakras below it, and then there's these other three chakras above it. So our heart chakra is kind of, each of our chakras is kind of an energy hub responsible for different things, but our heart is sort of the central energy hub. And so when we take care of this heart chakra, it can have some really good effects on everything else. And so for me, what's coming through is just that it's been this way for a while. It almost feels like it could have been this way for most of your life. And so, what I would guess is that as we start working on this heart chakra, you're going to maybe get a little bit of like sort of I don't want to say a rush of emotions, but you will likely be feeling emotions at a level that's a little bit more intense than what you would normally experience. Now, your sacral chakra, which is really the seat of our emotions, is very strong, which is not surprising because you are a passionate person, Scorpio. And so your sacral chakra is looking pretty good, and that's why I think we can manage to do some other things to let your heart chakra shine and get back into a little shape. Your root chakra is a little bit low on energy as well. Um, and I would say that I feel some stuck energy in here actually also. Um, and this is probably, so we get this little bit of kind of stuck energy over here. Um, and this feels like it's due to a certain difficult event, or something that really is related to home and family. It feels a little bit like the home and family you have right now. Maybe you have a little few regrets about it. There might have been a time where you kind of didn't want this traditional family, married kids, not because you're commitment phobic, just because, well, you're a little bit like your time alone. And then I feel like there was sort of an incident where you realized too late that you could have had that traditional home and family. So I think for starters, let's do some things actually for this root chakra. Um, if you can do some gardening, and actually get your hands in dirt, it would be really helpful. Even if you have plants at home, like if you're repotting, use your hands, don't use gloves, get your hands dirty. But even just, playing in some mud or anywhere you can find it. Some cacao would also be really good if you can find ethically sourced cacao, usually online. I don't like, Aura cacao is pretty good, although I don't recommend anyone in particular. I just know they have sustainable practices, and I've used their products and they feel okay to me. You can also buy ethically sourced, or so-called, they say that's ethically sourced cacao. If you have a Sprouts near you, they sell these cacao wafers and buy some of the other supplements. So gardening, cacao, I would I was going to say do some sound healing, but let's not. So your sacral chakra, we're going to leave alone. Your solar plexus chakra, I'm going to say we don't need to do anything about that right now. So what this means is that when I say your solar plexus chakra is a little light on energy, it doesn't mean anything terrible is going on. Probably I'll be able to see it a little better when we clean up this heart chakra, but probably it just, it could use some stimulation. What I get is you've sort of been on autopilot. In terms of especially like work, career, things where you would normally need to consider yourself to be like more motivated for. And you've been in this space where things are working, so you don't necessarily have to try too hard. Not that you're not challenged, but you've got sort of your rhythm going, which is good. Because it's not stressing this part of your energy system, but it can cause it to just sort of get complacent in a sense. But there's no reason why we need to act on stimulating it right now. Things feel balanced enough in terms of sort of doing and getting things done. Things feel pretty balanced enough in terms of where your ego itself, like, not just ego as in like, are you egocentric and egomaniacal, but ego in the sense of how the ego plays out as a part of our whole self. Those things feel fine. So we're going to focus on this heart chakra. We're going to do some 528 hertz frequency healing. Here's the deal with frequency healing. If you can use a good pair of headphones, and you can do this overnight, good pair of headphones is going to give you the most stimulation in this kind of, in your actual eardrum, right? Because that's what's happening. It's vibrating in your eardrums, and that's affecting your brain. If there's any possibility of you getting in front of a tuning fork or a sound bath, now sound baths sometimes will go through all the frequencies, or a gong, anything where you can get in person in front of sound would be really good, in front of this 528 hertz. But if you can't, totally understandable. Find free on YouTube 528 hertz, and just put that on overnight as you're falling asleep. You can leave it on just kind of like white noise. You can find 528 hertz singing bowls. I don't recommend those for overnight healing, only because the volume tends to go up and down. You'll hear sort of a louder ding. The frequency and vibration will dissipate, and then they'll hit the bowl again. So it's difficult to sleep with those things. So finding a 528 pure tone side frequency, which will just be basically same decibel, one noise, playing constantly for 8 hours, and that's what you want to look for. Everything else is looking pretty good. Your throat chakra, actually, hold on. For this heart chakra, rosemary. You can make a tea with fresh or dried rosemary. It's very inexpensive to find at the store, but it also grows almost like a weed pretty much everywhere. So if you have neighbors that grow it, or you grow it. You can just pluck it and make a tea. You can put it on your food. You can find tinctures. The easiest and cheapest thing to do is make a tea. If you put it on your food, you kind of do have to use a lot, so it can be overpowering. Everything else is looking pretty good. You could actually, I'm going to give you lots of options here because they're coming through. You could also use some rose, make a tea out of rose, or use rose essential oil. That'll help a little bit with this root chakra, and so will the rosemary. The rosemary is a holistic, very nurturing herb. Another thing you could do are some affirmations for your heart chakra. I call my heart energy back to me. And you can visualize, I think I'll make a visualization for this. You can visualize all this, green energy kind of coming back and coagulating, into a more centered, dense ball of green energy in the center of your chest. And do this. I call all my heart energy back to me. Everything else, like I said, looks pretty good. Your throat chakra is fine. All of these, nothing's ever perfect with, anyone's chakras really. So your throat chakra is pretty much looking fine. Your third eye chakra, there isn't really a lot to see here. You are using it. You probably don't realize it. It's actually stronger than I think you think it is. So you probably identify, you might chalk it up as coincidence most of the time, but you probably get a very good read on people. You probably, have things happen. You're like, that's so weird. I kind of in the back of my mind, I thought that might happen. So if you wanted to develop your third eye chakra a little bit more, you don't have to, but if you wanted to, you could start making kind of a list of or tick marks or whatever, a list of when that stuff happens. Like when you're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen, or, oh, I knew I should have grabbed this, that, or the other when I left the house. Or, somebody turns out to be a shit person and you were like, oh, I knew I'd have had that person pegged, right? Just kind of start making a list of when those things happen. It doesn't have to be a formal list. It can be anywhere you want. It could be in your phone, whatever. But it might help you start to identify that you are a little bit more of an intuitive person, which usually will sort of pick up the energy and then have this effect, this sort of snowball effect, where as you notice, you become more intuitive, you have sort of a more belief in your intuitive abilities, and then they sort of become better and heightened with this increased confidence and awareness. Same for your crown chakra. Well, not same for your crown chakra. I would say your crown chakra looks good. You have a connection. I think you were probably raised in some kind of religious or spiritual home. You have beliefs. It doesn't feel like it's part of your life. It doesn't feel like you're actually real interested in this. So basically it's fine, and we'll just leave that alone. So to summarize for you, Scorpio, your heart chakra is the thing we really want to work on. I've given you lots of ideas for how to get this back into balance. If I were doing an individual reading, it would be, a little more narrowed down for you. So in these readings, what I really like is it actually lets you use your own intuition to find which of these things work for you. So to summarize for your heart chakra, you can do some affirmations and visualization. I call all my heart energy back to me and visualize it kind of all this energy kind of coagulating into a dense orange sphere in, sort of where your heart would be, right in your chest. I would definitely recommend some 528 hertz healing if you do nothing else, because it's easy and free. Just put it on overnight. If you have headphones, and you can wear them while you sleep, great, do it. If you can't, don't. If you can put it on during the day with headphones and let it just be like a backdrop to your day, do that too. And if you can get in a sound bath in front of a tuning fork, a gong, whatever, in person, even better. You can do some rosemary. The easiest and cheapest thing to do is to make a rosemary tea out of fresh or dried rosemary. You can do a rose tea, not rose hips. Rose hips, actually. Hips or flower will be fine. And you can do that iced or hot. That'll help with your heart chakra and your root chakra and give you kind of an overall nurturing energy. And for this root chakra, if you can get your hands in some dirt, I'm just feeling that really strongly, do that. Potting plants, gardening, whatever. You can also get some cacao, and I would do that twice a week for you. Okay, thanks, Scorpio.